A few months ago, I made a video about my general outlook on the Pokemon art style, its changes, evolution, and departure from Ken Sugimori's iconic style. I outlined the discrepancies within the Pokemon games and how they fluctuated from monster-based characters to chibi-based ones, then everything in between. I brought up how Pokemon Legends Arceus was my favorite Pokemon game in a long time, mostly because of its more open, laid-back approach to Pokemon. Physically running around in this world, seeing Pokemon frolic through the grass, witnessing an intimidatingly powerful Pokemon loom above you as their accurate height is portrayed correctly for the first time, deepened my connection to the Pokemon world in a way I haven't felt since I was a young child. Despite its visual and gameplay flaws, I've been praising this game non-stop, and I plan to do so even more. All of this has rushed back into the front of my mind because if you haven't heard, a small little indie game called Palworld just dropped. And it's kind of popular. If you're short on time, which I doubt it, you're on YouTube.
Really? On a Saturday night?
Here's my quick take. Palworld is genuinely a really good and fun early access game. And the developers clearly did some shady, weird stuff. Now, both of these things can absolutely exist independently alongside one another. And I want to outline the pros and cons of this game because often the discussions and arguments surrounding the game can seem really one-dimensional. But first, let's go back to 2021, the first time anyone really saw this game. Bam! Trailer in front of my eyes. Me and my friends lose it laughing at how ridiculous of a concept this game is. Haha, funny Pokemon, but with guns. Ha, what a funny lay meme. I was honestly excited for it, not because I thought it was gonna be good, but because I kinda love hilariously weird, eccentric Japanese games. I truly thought this game would release, get like a 73 on Metacritic, become a weird cult hit, and fade into obscurity. Boy, was I fucking wrong, like insanely, comically wrong. Palworld, in every way, shape, and form, in just a few days after releasing, is a success. It destroyed nearly every single Steam record in history, it's outselling Arceus, and everyone is talking about it. Everyone. Everyone. Is it a ripoff? Is it a parody? Did they steal the models? Did they make the models? Is it unique? Is it unremarkable? Is it soulless? Does it have charm? Is it fun? Let's just start with the most controversial thing and work our way to the good stuff. This game is actually many parts Ark Survival and only some parts Pokemon, but that's why you're here. You're here for the funny little critters, not to build a wooden axe for the 87th goddamn time! Well, these fellas range from really good to, plagiarism. I feel Pocket Pair didn't do themselves any favors here because clearly many of these designs are unique, clean, and full of charm, and then others are straight up ripoffs meant to capitalize on Pokemon fans. Yuck! 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 You're awesome. Yuck! Truly what I expected before playing this game after everything I heard online was a plagiarism, theft-filled slop fest. And what I mostly got was pretty damn good designs. I felt extreme whiplash. The vast majority of pals here are completely fine, which makes the egregious ones suck even more because they could have just continued on with the creative stuff and not just straight up remesh over an existing 3D model. Now, before you peel my skin with a little potato peeler and say, Circle, how the hell are the majority of these things fine? They look like Walmart brand Pokemon. Let me explain my reasoning. Be not afraid, I'm here to save you money. Have you or a loved one ever checked one of your accounts and gone, what the hell? I don't remember paying for that at all. Didn't I cancel that months ago? What? Well, Rocket Money, this video's sponsor, is here to save you from looking like a goofy moron and wasting money ever again. Rocket Money will annihilate subscription services you've forgotten about, cancel services, help you negotiate bills, and save you real money and help you plan for the future. I personally use Rocket Money to keep track of my subscriptions, including one time where I had no idea that a tea delivery service I once used was still charging me months later. Cool. Also, their ability to lower your bills is actually wild. You can just take a quick photo of your bills and send it to them, and Rocket Money will help negotiate your bills for you, from internet service to cable and phone bills. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll stop overcharging you. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 a year when you use all of its features, with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. So dude, just go and save some money. Go to rocketmoney.com/CircleToons or click my link in the description to get started for free. All right, thank you guys so much for sponsoring. Let's jump back into it. Here's Pengullet, a perfect example of what I'm saying here and a good touchstone of where I believe the divide starts. Some argue Pengullet is a complete ripoff of Piplup, and as a complete lover of Piplup, I completely Disagree. This guy literally shares no similarities other than the fact that he is a blue penguin. Its dimensions are different, its eyes are different, its features, accessories, and color structure are completely different. Now, Game Freak entirely owns the rights to Piplup, but it does not own the rights to the idea of a blue penguin, especially when that same penguin can be upgraded and used as rocket launcher ammo. So you can't really make the argument that this is meant to make consumers mistake the creature for a Pokemon. Now, there's sort of a scale here. It's really not that black and white. Like previously mentioned, a handful of pals are almost straight up one-to-one ripoffs of Pokemon in scale, shape, design, and sometimes color. And even worse, a few pals seem to be completely yoinked from Fakeamon artists online, which is a whole new level of fucked up. And the Raboot hole only goes deeper when we remember Game Freak did the exact same thing years ago. Now, while Palworld might also get away with this legally because there's no actual IP theft happening here, we can all agree this is insanely scummy, especially to the small artists. But if we turn our gaze to the rest of the PAL decks, we see that almost all the others are either heavily inspired, unique, or fall into the same category that I believe Pengullet falls into. Similar, sometimes meant as a stand-in, but completely different in design. Ruby, arguably a stand-in for Ponyta. Outside of being a fire horse deer thing, they share nearly no similarities other than the little fire poof. Mozzarina shares the same face style as Snorlax, but that's it. Is that okay, or should this round bastard be turned into steaks?
Because I actually like this funny fella. He's silly, he's fun, and he gets stuck on everything every
2 seconds, and he sucks, and I hate him. Then you just got a bunch of completely unique designs like
Pancake, Combat, Wumbo, Daydream, Memoris, Pow, Beacon, Elizabeth, Sweeper, Hookatees, Goblin, Bushi, Felbat, Massandra, Deepin, Chickapee!
And especially Cognito. This guy rules so hard, and I learned that like a buzzard, he eats dead pals that you knocked out near him. Neat. Now, do a lot of these pals look like they could be Pokemon? Kinda. Are they Pokemon? No. I think you can be inspired, sometimes strive for the same type of Sugimori-style eyes or bubbly design elements while making something unique. Often it lands here, sometimes it doesn't, and a few times it was borderline theft. I also think you can step into the Pokemon design space, especially when you consider Palworld as coming from a somewhat parody mindset here. All in all, I think many of the designs rock, and a small portion of them could absolutely benefit from a complete overhaul, because when you see things like, ooh, this, it really makes you feel bad for enjoying the rest of the PAL decks, where the artists clearly worked so hard to make creative, clearly inspired monsters that fit the parody-esque vibe they were shooting for. But in a monster catching game, especially an open world one, the creatures are only as good as their animations and personalities baked into them. And here is where Palworld truly fucking shines.
It's alive!
I think the main reason we're so drawn to Pokemon, Digimon, Ooblets, and now Palworld is we crave the feeling of not only catching, training, and battling with these creatures, but also exploring a world where you just coexist with them. So taking a monster taming game and mixing it with the basic survival resource management stuff and having the creatures run around helping you with your base and automation seems like such an obvious gimme. I'm shocked it wasn't made sooner. Every single PAL has unique animations for crafting, farming, cooking, gathering, sleeping, relaxing, eating, and being pet. So what's usually my least favorite kind of gameplay loop?
Oh, get resource to craft a thing, to get to the resource to craft another thing. Whee!
Is actually incredibly fun, not only because you can achieve near complete automation within a few hours, but because Palworld actually makes it enjoyable as a system. Every PAL has a work suitability sheet, and this shows what they can actually do in your settlement. There's 12 different tasks they can accomplish. Some PALs just have one, while others have many and will bounce around depending on what's needed at that given time. You can assign them to something specific, or you can just let them roam around and figure it out themselves. Right, maybe freedom was a mistake. Pretty easily, you could have a berry farm, where a grass-type PAL is routinely planting the seeds, a water type is watering them, and a few other PALs are harvesting, gathering, and storing the berries in a bowl for all the PALs to eat from. This is genuinely pure magic. It feels so organic, and again, I'm blown away we haven't seen something like this sooner. I've always been extremely vocal about how much I despise these survival crafting-filled time parasite games. I hate how the core mechanic is waiting. You're always fucking waiting in these games, and I hate hate it! I hate that some games use the act of wasting time as a mechanic. But even Palworld made this stomachable for me because I won't lie, it's really satisfying to be crafting some huge new thingamabob, see a timer that reads 3 minutes before it's finished, and then watch 7 pals sprint over to help me build it and watch that timer get lowered to 20 seconds. Sure, I'm still waiting, but even in Palworld, the gameplay element of waiting is now dynamic and tangibly upgradable by how well your settlement is optimized. And seeing their happy, satisfied reactions when a project is done also is a nice cherry on top.
Okay, so what the hell? I thought this was a Pokemon ripoff, not a goddamn Ark Survival ripoff. I don't even know which developers I'm supposed to send my death threats to now. Do you understand the stress this puts me through?
I think it's time we go on a little... Here's why you actually picked up the game in the first place. You want to travel a big open world, find silly little bastards minding their own business, trap them into a prison sphere, and make them fight other goofy guys. And honestly, Palworld scratched an itch here for me that hasn't been scratched by Pokemon in over 10 years. The world is enormous, like actually gargantuan. I had flashbacks of Elden Ring,
Probably because they stole the Everjails from it.
where every time I thought I made progress, I wasn't even close to seeing it all. And traversing the landscape is legitimately engaging, not only because there's eggs to find on top of mountains that can lead to late game pals early or glowing statues that increase your catching ability, but because as you grow your character and equipment, your pals grow with you. At certain levels, you can craft saddles and other upgrades for a number of different pals. And it's not like Arceus where you're glued to a certain fake party member Pokemon forever. Here you can actually mount, not that one, the same pal you've trained and adventured with, and while riding them, you have complete control over their moveset and abilities, even ones you've trained through TM-style fruit that you can find growing on special trees. You can even catch and mount rare larger pals and boss pals, which is as hilarious as it is badass. Pulling up riding some fucking kaiju. Sup? You can also catch people. I accidentally did this in the first few minutes of my first playthrough. I landed like a 3% chance on a tutorial NPC, and then my entire camp was raided as my screen blasted the message that I had committed an inhumane felony and I would be executed immediately. Cool. You'd think when you started acquiring mounts, especially flying ones, that the huge world would instantly become trivialized, but the starting flying ones aren't too fast and their flight is limited through a stamina bar. So you'll often have a mount specifically for grounded fast movement, a flying one for verticality when you need it, and a few other regular pals for combat. Which, by the way, the combat fucking rules in Palworld. I'm not kidding when I say the combat is often more satisfying than modern Pokemon. This, of course, is gonna fall heavily on taste and opinion. So if you like the more methodical, turn-based, chess-like combat from Pokemon games, I get that. Just for me, I'm really craving a change in the formula, man. Throwing out a pal against a massive boss and watching him do his thing while you're loading up your rifle and Dark Souls iframe rolling out of the way of their attacks. Calling in your buddies for help and watching them arrive on a flying mount, casting fireballs from above while your other buddy is activating his pal's hidden ability that lets him use his pal as a literal handheld flamethrower. And all of it ends with one of you throwing a pal sphere and landing a 12% catch chance as your friends pop off, gain XP and resources, go home and now revel in the gigantic badass boss pal you get to now ride into the sunset. Or you just send them to the mines for all eternity. There's a level of dynamic systems and polish here that I did not expect whatsoever. Many of the locations look great. The battles are hype, pals having different sizes and elemental variants, not being just palette swaps but actual different models. Attacking a Gobfin and watching as 100 others charge at you like piranhas. Ice pals keeping you cool in the desert, and fire pals keeping you warm in the snowy areas. Beegard and Elizabeth having unique build-defining combo abilities. Digtoys being especially good at mining resources if you unlock his special power, and every pal having different passive and work abilities encouraging you to actually catch them all. I'm sorry, I look back to Arceus and I get fucking depressed. These are all the things I wanted from Arceus, from Pokemon. Now I have it in fucking Palworld. Fucking Pikachu with guns, for God's sakes. And it takes like 10 hours to even get your first gun. It's fun. It's damn fun. It's shockingly fun. Well, when the game wants to function and not crash every 7 seconds. Palworld is an early access game, for worse or for worse. I'm very open about my disdain for early access games. The vast majority of the time, you're purchasing a game far before it's ready. Palworld is a mixed bag because the game is genuinely filled to the brim with interesting gameplay, monsters, locations, systems, and multiplayer, but it also barely works half the fucking time. Things disappear, resources get randomly deleted, the pathing of pals constantly gets stuck, servers crash, save files get corrupted, the naming system's broken, inputs don't work, work and the sounds are glitchy or just bad.
Oh god, the dripping sound effect! Please, please, no more dripping sound effect!
And I've been experiencing a constant bug where before I can even play a multiplayer game with my friends, I have to first reload my world in single player and dump half of my resources in the trash or else my game will constantly crash. So that's fun, I love that. Then you have Craftopia, their previous early access game that never left early access, and meaningful updates have slowed heavily, and it was basically a Breath of the Wild ripoff, and the CEO made worrying comments about AI. So that doesn't leave me with wonderful feelings for what's to come. So, what now? Is Palworld the greatest game of all time? Is Pokemon, the single biggest media franchise, gonna go freaking bankrupt? Oh, I'm sorry. I was too busy opening up another 107 packs of Pokemon cards. I didn't hear what you were saying. Palworld just made more money than God, and the whole world noticed. So either we'll see this game grow, flourish, and really stand on its own 2 feet in the future, or it'll be sent to the resource factory and nearly forgotten about in a year or so.
What the hell?
I learned from you, okay? When Lies of P snagged nearly everything from Dark Souls and made it their own, everyone called it a Souls-like, loved it, and it was my game of the year. When Hearthstone came out, an insane amount of digital card games with absurd similarities spawned in, and it was fine. Pocket Pair grabbed like 7 decent fun formulas, mixed them together in a witch's cauldron, and bumped in chemical Pokemon. And out came Palworld. And then the devs got an overwhelming amount of death threats. Video games, am I right? I have high hopes for this game, partly because competition is good for us, the buyer. This might actually force Pokemon to make their games under good working conditions and not release a title every 7 minutes.
Oh, a gamer can dream.
But mostly because they just made a fun $30 game. That's it. It's really that simple to me.
Hey guys, welcome back to SquareToonsHD, a brand new CircleToonsHD inspired channel. Oh, you think I'm a ripoff? But look, I have survival elements and guns on my channel. I'm so different.
Actually, on second thought, I fucking hate Palworld.